everybody has their own definition of it. You know, to me it means real honest stuff. You know, good lyrics at the you know, the forefront of it, and good songs. You start there with good songs, and then it just kind of builds from there. You got to have good lyrics, and then hopefully a good band to play them, and you know, really just something that we always come back to is making sure that everybody's done their homework and kind of has honed their craft. You know, like instead of just picking up a guitar after you learn 3 chords and hitting the road, you know, try to really get it down, and then you know, listen to a bunch of old music and check out the classics, and like I said, do your homework. And you can tell when somebody hasn't done that or when somebody has. So I don't know, it's a pretty big thing to me for real music. Well, the earliest influences for me and my brothers were our dad. He's a musician, and you know, all my uncles are, and my grandfather was, and so just the family right off the bat was. And we grew up touring in a family band up in Idaho with Dad and the brothers Mickey and Gary from the Motor Cars, and Cody and I. And so we played a lot of kind of country western, old cowboy music, and you know, Dad wrote a bunch of kind of kid songs because we were all kids, and so we had a bunch of funny kind of family-oriented kid stuff. And then we always listened to Dad's record collection, you know, which is a lot of old country stuff, a lot of Texas songwriters, and a few old rock and roll tapes like the Beatles and the Byrds and Chuck Berry and stuff like that. And then when we started buying our own albums, it was, you know, a lot of that same type of stuff. A lot more rock and roll than the old man had, but you know, that kind of came a little bit later on. But there was also a bunch of great bands up in Idaho, like Pinto Bennett and the famous Motel Cowboys, and Kip Attaway and Tarwater, and a couple other really, you know, just real local scene type bands. But we got to grow up and see a lot of those guys touring around. Chris Ledoux was always coming around back in the day, and guys like that we'd be able to go see live and you know, steal stuff from. He's a huge Guy Clark fan, and he had Rodney Crowell albums and a lot of Emmylou and Robert Earl Keen. He was, I guess, the first guy that ever cut one of Robert's songs, and so I remember Robert sending him tapes and records when we were kids. And who else? You know, Guy Clark, I guess I already mentioned, and Billy Joe Shaver, Towns, and there was always a lot of that stuff. Steve Earle. I remember the first time I heard Steve Earle, and I went to my dad. I was like, "Man, you got to check out this guy Steve Earle." I heard him on the radio. I was like, "Oh, I got his tape." And so it was like, that was the first time I ever thought Dad was cool. He had beat me to the punch on Steve Earle.